Online, or good afternoon if you're watching later. You're very welcome. LWCCLive on Facebook and YouTube, and of course again to every one of you who is sat here today. I think you knew from last week that we've given you all a copy of Pilgrim's Progress. If you weren't here last week, make sure you take a copy of that. Just so you know, we will be preaching through the Bible, not Pilgrim's Progress, but we will be taking the chapters as themes for our preaching. Perina will stand at the back and give you one of those books. Even if you have a copy, I just appeal to you, take one of our copies, because the chapter breakdowns are different in almost every different version, and we're going to be going through one specific one today. And I think that links well with what I want to talk to you about today, in fact, because Pilgrim's Progress is about a journey of a young man called Christian on his Christian journey. And last week we talked about the Christmas story. And we talked about Matthew 2, for example, and we talked about Mary and Joseph and Jesus, as you'd imagine that we would on December 24th. The clue is in the name. But today I want to talk to you about a passage that we so often read, and I'm sure you do. It's at the start of Matthew, and it comes straight after what we perceive as the Christmas Christmas story, where you have, the Nativity. And the truth is, when we have the nativity plays, we don't do it in this church, but when we have the schools, we sort of know that story really well, don't we? Mary and Joseph had to go to the town for the census. Mary was riding on a donkey. We sort of added the donkey later. And then you had wise men following a star and shepherds coming that were watching their flocks by night. You get the idea. There was no room at the inn. Well, the truth is that Mary and Joseph and Jesus immediately, within days, which is immediately in my world, went on a journey. And I want to talk to you about that journey today, and it comes in the second half of Matthew. So you'll find it Matthew 2, 13 to 23. The first part is the Magi, the wise men. You'll get that part. But before we get there, I want to set the scene. Some old friends in this church used to laugh when I would call it the preface or the preface. Do you remember that? They're no longer with us. We miss them. They're great friends. We stayed in touch. But for you to understand the sentiment of what I'm trying to share with you today, I want to tell you two things. One is a joke, and one is the lyrics of a favourite song of mine. It's a very old song. Most of you here are too young to remember it. But the joke is this. If you ever want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. Ha 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 ha. You have to think that one through. Not one of you laughed. But if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. And here's my favourite song. He ain't heavy, he's my brother. Do you know that song? One of my favourites. From the Hollies, it's very old. And the lyrics go like this. The road is long, with many a winding turn, that leads us who knows where, but I'm strong enough to carry him. He ain't heavy, he's my brother. And the truth is, I used to sing that song and listen to that song on repeat to the point of driving my parents insane. It was more to do with the melody, to be honest, than it was the words. But in my own Christian journey, these two things had to almost like explode or implode on themselves. Because I have a plan for my life. And I'm telling you that when I was 10 or 15 or 20, the word Basildon never appeared once. The idea of being a pastor or a minister in a church, often told to me from other people, prophetic words or encouragements, I never wanted it. It was never part of my plan. So there are many things of my plan that are missing. Things that I wanted. I remember for once, as an example, my cousin, if he's watching, will affirm this. I actually made a list as a little boy of the cars I wanted to drive when I got older. Okay? It started off with a Mark 1, shows you how old I am, Mark 1 Ford Escort, which at the time was not a beautiful classic car. It was a rust bucket that the boy racers used to have around town, and I wanted to be one of them. And it would go from the Ford Escort, and it would go to the Volkswagen Golf. That's what I've got now, thanks to somebody's generosity. But then it went to a BMW, and then it went to a Mercedes, and then it went to a Porsche. And then it went to a Lamborghini. And actually, do you know what the truth is? Some of those things actually did happen in my life. I did have a Mercedes. I could have, and I turned it down, would you believe? I could have had a Porsche at one point in the career that I had. We actually went looking for that as a company car. Did God laugh at me? Probably not. He was gentle with me, and he was kind with me, and he corrected me because he had a better plan for my life than the plan I had for my own. And the truth is, I'm only 40. Is that halfway? Give or take. Let's call it halfway. Okay? I'll be happy if I get to 80, given the life I've led. With my humble hindsight, when I've worked to my plan, I've probably caused more harm and more damage than being disobedient to somebody else's plan. When I've been so adamant that this is what I want to do, it's caused damage to me and to those around me. The other thing that had to implode on itself was this idea that I'm strong. I'm strong enough not just to carry myself through this world, this journey, but I'm actually strong enough to carry other people with me. My brother, younger brother, it'll be a miracle if he is watching this, but I hope he is. And it was actually his birth that prompted me to like this song. I knew the song before, but when I was told that he was coming, I started to listen to this song on repeat. And I just knew that whatever happened, a bit like Del Boy and Rodney, I would look after my younger brother. And I would be strong enough to make it for myself, and I would make it for him too, and I would make it for others. And then again, I guess with hindsight, I realized that I'm not strong enough to do anything, really. Not beyond the obvious. And then this idea of it, the road being long, and it is. But it's also winding. And when I stick to my plan, I don't really know where it leads, not ultimately. And then it reminds me of this. Actually, we can't see that on the screen, can we? Hang on. Some of you are my new friends, some of you are my old friends. But this is one of the very first things. Yeah, we can get that on the screen.